Good afternoon. The power of pregnancy, why mothers are on the leadership fast track. Louise works in publishing and she's about to get married. She's the features editor of a magazine and she loves her role. All that she wants to do is inspire her team around her, and she's got a young, talented group of copywriters. And what she wants to do is show them that she can have a career and a family. Sarah works in banking. She's married, but she never planned to be a mother. She's now 6 months pregnant and wondering how that's going to work with her plans to be moved up to MD. Everybody's saying the right things, that she'll be supported and her role won't change, but she wonders whether that's true. And Natalie works for a hedge fund. She's one of a few women in the organisation that's moved up to the level that she's at. She's very ambitious, she earns more than her husband, and she got better grades at university. Yet recently her mother has said to her, "Darling, you've had 10 years, more than I did. It's time to step back now and move into having a family." Maternity in 2016 is at an all-time high, and 84% of businesses have said that they want to help pregnant women and new mothers. Yet 77% of women feel that they're discriminated against. So we've got this huge disparity. 3 in 4 mothers experience pregnancy discrimination at work. 3 in 4, that's incredibly high. And these statistics come from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, where they looked at 3,000 employers and 3,000 employees. 1 in 5 mothers said they experienced harassment, and this was due to them trying to make appointments for antenatal classes, going to see their midwives, or trying to get flexible working arrangements when they came back to work. Very normal requests. Scaled up, this can equate to around 100,000 women a year, and this was what inspired me to set up a campaign called Changing 100,000 Lives. And it's to influence the maternity journeys of women and girls by 2020. Fawcett also did a study of around 8,000 people, and they coined the term the motherhood penalty and the daddy bonus. Basically, 46% of people believe that when a woman announces she's pregnant, she's going to be less committed to her work. Yet 29% believe a man will become more committed. So we have this inherent belief that when somebody announces they're having a baby, the woman steps back and the man steps forward. We know the business goals that we want to work towards. We know the Lord Davis final report recommended that we have more than 33% of women on our boards by 2020. In the 5 years that he worked, we moved the targets from around 11 or 15% up to 25. So we're moving in the right direction, but it's still only about a third that we're going for. McKinsey have confirmed if more women were in the workplace, we would add around 13 trillion to our growth. It's a huge amount of money and a huge amount of untapped capital that we're wasting. So who am I to be telling you all these things? Well, I'm a maternity consultant coach, and I've been working with women in this area for around 14 years. I've supported over 2,000 women and taken them through the pregnancy journey and transition to motherhood. And during this time, I've realised the correlation between having a baby and being successful in business. I feel really passionate that we need to prove that business men and women can thrive when the experience of pregnancy is managed differently. I've been speaking to so many women, and my work is backed up by empirical evidence as well as a lot of scientific data. I'm sharing my insights today, and my hope is to give you a new way of thinking. I want to help us manage maternity differently and help women embrace their feminine power. During pregnancy, your brain function changes, and that's a fact. And what I see very clearly is that women react to this in one of 3 ways. Initially, they may dismiss it or deny it. They see it as being a very negative sort of connotation, having baby brain. So they say, oh, it's not going to happen to me. I'm going to work until the end of my pregnancy. I'm keeping it going, and everything's going to be the same as it was, business as usual. Some women acknowledge it, but are embarrassed by it, and they apologise and they negate any benefits that it may have. They put it off as, oh, I'm being ditzy and forgetful, and they see it again in a very negative way. But there are some women, and these are the ones I like to give a bit of a gold star to, that see it as a portal of opportunity. They see the changes that are happening and they embrace them. They let go and they warm up and welcome what's going on. The left and right brains of the hemispheres of the brain shift when we have pregnancy hormones. And so it's natural for your left brain thinking to slow down. But what happens is this portal opens up where you can really expand and move into much more creative thinking. But in order to do that, you've got to be open to it. A fantastic book that really explains this and talks about one woman's journey of this experience is Dr. Amali Lukamaj. And her book, The Heart of the Womb, was something that really touched me. She's an obstetrician and consultant based in London, and when she had her first pregnancy, she expected it to be business as usual. She expected to work throughout her pregnancy, have a medical birth, probably a cesarean section delivered by her very esteemed colleagues, and really thought that would be the way that it went. But her baby clearly had other ideas, and what happened was that she found that she had to slow right down. She had horrendous morning sickness, she had a frozen shoulder, and she really slowed down and allowed herself to go into what she described as a real softening of not just her thoughts and her body, but her emotions as well. She suddenly became much more open to what was happening around her and saw birth in a very different way. She now is campaigning and working very hard to normalise birth, and she's had real impact in her field. And what she talks about is pregnancy hormones, giving women this opening up to the right brain activity, and says that it's normally suppressed in modern day life. And we have therapies that can help us access it, but pregnant women have this naturally, if only they would surrender to it. And for me, the importance is the surrendering. When I talk to most women who are really successful in their careers, who are moving forward, the thought of surrendering doesn't sound appealing at all. They want to move forward. But actually, if they learn to let go, if they learn to soften and embrace this change, amazing things can happen. Another incredible book that's been written that gives a lot of scientific data is How Women and the Men Who Think Like Them Will Rule the Future, from the Athena Doctrine. And it was written, interestingly, by two fathers of two daughters. And they talked about how masculine and feminine traits were actually viewed by people and how we needed to look at feminine traits moving forward with the way that we wanted to manage our leadership. It provides a wealth of evidence on global leadership and the case for more women leaders. The phrase that they coined was that femininity is the operating system of 21st century prosperity. But I actually love femininity is the operating system of 21st century leadership. So what is a 21st century leadership or a 21st century leader? Well, to me, it's somebody who's visionary. It's somebody who can see the future without having already been there. It's somebody who can imagine a better world than we have today. It's somebody who's incredibly compassionate and empathetic, who can connect with others, who can see what's going on and bring people together. They're incredibly collaborative. They're incredibly nurturing, and they're able to empower people. They see the talent around them and they help it rise up. They're incredibly courageous and they take tough decisions. Leadership today is complex, it's tough, and it's challenging. But that doesn't mean that you have to be weak. It means that you have to be courageous, but you also have to be vulnerable. And that's something I see in all great leaders today. So going back to our pregnant women and our new mothers, how does this all tie together? Well, when I speak to my pregnant women that I'm working with, and I see them, and I see the transition that they're going through, there's a real shift that happens from having this attention to detail and all this fact in their head, to actually a sense of knowingness, to a sense of inner strength, inner calm, and inner wisdom. And I was talking to a woman who now runs a very successful multi-million-dollar business, and she was talking about when she was a new mother and wanted to really see her business expand. She had this real conflict because she wanted to see this huge potential in her business realized, but she didn't see herself as this tough woman going into business meetings and negotiating with finance leaders and, really sort of taking her business to where she wanted to get to. So she had this real shift of what she was going to do. And she said to me, what happened is she evolved from being a creative person with a business idea to a CEO running a business with a creative idea at its heart. And that was really the difference. She connected into her heart. She connected into what she was feeling for this business, what she could see innately for this business. And she was then able to go forward and have these very tough meetings. And she now runs this incredible business. And she's also inspiring many, many women to lift up their game and also run multi-million-dollar businesses. So if we look at the natural skills of mothers and we look at the natural skills of leaders, there's perhaps a bit of a similarity there. The mothers that I've worked with are incredibly visionary. Once they have children, they very much start to look at the future. They're interested in the future for their children, their children's children. They connect to what's going on in the world around them in a way that they didn't do before. They're incredibly compassionate and empathetic. They work with people much more in teams, they work together, and they're very much about helping everybody rise up. I've got a woman that I recently spoke to who said to me, in her team, they had incredibly high sales targets, and she was very used to really motivating them and pushing, really, working in quite an alpha female way. And although they got good results, it was exhausting for all of them. Since she's had her baby, and she's to return back to work, they're exceeding their targets, but she's doing it in a much more nurturing way. She's seeing weaknesses in her team, not as weaknesses, but opportunities for her to develop their talent. She's nurturing her team, she's bringing them along with her, and they're flying. They're doing absolutely amazing things. So for me, we have so many opportunities for women when they're going through this pregnancy journey and transition to motherhood to really step into a leadership position. But so many women step back and do what culture expects of them, to step back and allow the man to step forward, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of whether they're earning more than their partner, whether they're ambitious, whether whatever is happening. And we need this to change. We need women to feel empowered to stand up, women to feel empowered and supported by their businesses to actually move forward. We have to stop defaulting to the assumptions that women will want to step down. Some do, but many, many don't. And what I see is that we're not valuing this incredible transition and this incredible opportunity where women can really step forward. So what needs to change? What can we do about this? Well, we need to really empower mothers, and we need to help them to experience the pregnancy journey in its entirety. We want them to value the changes that they're going through and to really feel the learnings, to really connect to them and really get them deep in their body and their mind. We want to encourage women to step forward, not step back, and those who are ambitious to realise their ambitions and see the opportunities that are really available to them. But we need to have businesses valuing this journey. We need to have them respecting it, and we need to have them understanding what happens in pregnancy much, much better. At the moment, so many businesses see maternity as a bundle of problems to solve, and they see maternity leave as a cost and a drag and a drain on their resources, somebody less that's going to be available, rather than a huge period of development in the same way that we'd maybe see a sabbatical or a training. We need to shift our thinking in the way that we see pregnancy and the transition to motherhood, because so much is happening for women, and it's so incredibly powerful for business. And lastly, we need men and fathers to step up. We need men to be advocates for change. We need fathers demanding more for paternity leave and wanting to support their women. We need to have more equality in our homes and more equality in our workplace. We need to let go of all the stereotypes that we have. With these changes, I think we can see great advantages to great advantages to the economy as a whole, and I think we can see just women stepping into their natural feminine power. That's what I really hope for women, and that's what I hope for you all. Thank you.